Okay, let's unpack this. That feeling when someone asks if you're insecure about your height,
Oh, yeah.
and your immediate reaction is maybe something like, well, I'm taller than you, so I don't think I am.
Right, a bit defensive.
Or maybe it's more vulnerable, like admitting, yeah, I kind of wish I would have been a little bit taller. It's that blunt sort of real world moment, isn't it? Vulnerability or defensiveness right there.
It really is. That immediate, almost gut reaction to something touching our self-image.
Yeah.
It's very human.
And that immediate, really personal feeling, it's exactly what we're getting into today. So our mission here in this deep dive we've put together for you is to pull out the key insights from all the sources you shared, video transcript, your notes, research findings. We want to figure out what insecurity really is, how it quietly shapes our lives, and maybe most importantly, explore a path to a real, lasting sense of security, something beyond the quick fixes.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting because insecurity, as one of the sources put it, it's like the silent epidemic of our time.
Wow, silent epidemic. That's powerful.
It is, because it touches pretty much every part of our daily lives. It influences tiny choices, like pausing before hitting send on an email.
Or where you sit in a meeting, maybe?
Exactly, or how you phrase something. It just kind of colors everything. Every interaction.
So it's not just those big moments of doubt we all recognize, it's this undercurrent.
Yeah, like an invisible weight almost. It follows you around home, work, social stuff, even in, our closest relationships.
And it's that strange paradox, isn't it? It feels so intensely personal, like it's just my struggle.
Right. You feel totally isolated.
But then you realize, wait, almost everyone feels this way sometimes. It's this universal thing.
Absolutely. A deeply personal and universally shared experience.
So what happens when that weight gets really heavy, when it's more than just a background hum?
Well, when it gets heavy, its tentacles, so to speak, they reach way beyond just self-doubt. They start wrapping around our relationships.
How so?
They kind of constrict our ability to genuinely connect with people. Because if you're constantly worried about how you're coming across, how can you actually be present?
Right. You can't. You're performing.
Exactly. You put it perfectly. We become performers on a stage.
Carefully choosing words, actions, trying to fit what we think people expect.
But that performance, even if it gets you like temporary approval, it robs you of that real satisfaction, the kind you get from authentic connection.
And I guess if the performance slips or someone doesn't react the way you hoped,
then yeah, it just reinforces the insecurity, right? It feeds that belief that maybe the real you isn't good enough. It is. Yeah. Think about being in a group, maybe everyone's gossiping, or doing something that just doesn't sit right with your values.
Yeah.
You feel that pull, don't you? That internal conflict. Stay true to yourself or go along with it because you're afraid of being judged or, left out.
Oh, absolutely. That internal conflict is right at the core, isn't it? Compromising doesn't feel good long term.
Right. You know it intellectually.
But that fear of standing alone or facing ridicule, wow, it can feel huge in the moment.
It really can. So we start to kind of mold ourselves. We chip away pieces of our authentic selves to fit in.
And the result is?
The consequence is our sense of self gets sort of fragmented.
Yeah.
It becomes dependent on what other people think, on external validation, instead of being rooted inside us.
Like chameleons.
Exactly. We become chameleons, changing colors depending on who we're with. But the danger is we might forget our own true color.
And that doesn't just hurt us, right? It affects the relationships themselves.
Absolutely. It impoverishes them. They become shallow, unsatisfying. It's a really high price to pay for trying to avoid disapproval.
You see it everywhere, like in the workplace. How many times do people stay quiet in meetings? They have a great idea, but they're afraid.
Afraid of sounding stupid.
Or taking on way too much work, not because they want to help, but because they're scared of seeming, lazy or uncommitted.
Definitely. And in personal relationship, it can show up as like needing constant reassurance.
Or finding it really hard to set boundaries.
Right. Or overanalyzing everything. You send a text, then you send 3 follow-ups because you're worried about how the first one landed.
Been there.
Yeah.
Or agreeing to plans you don't actually want to.
Yeah, just to avoid disappointing someone.
Yeah.
Or even staying in relationships that aren't good for us, just out of fear of being alone.
And then there's the whole digital age layer on top of this.
Oh, absolutely. Social media has just amplified these challenges like crazy. It's created these constant arenas for comparison.
Comparing our messy reality to someone else's highlight reel.
Exactly. These carefully curated feeds that look like real life, but aren't. It just fuels that feeling of inadequacy. We measure our behind the scenes against their public performance.
It's rough. And it ties into that point from the source about, subjective beauty or approval.
Yeah, that was interesting. The idea that, look, someone somewhere will think you're ugly or whatever negative label, but someone else won't.
Right. There's no universal standard.
No. You'll never get 100% approval. Never. And you'll probably never get 100% disapproval either. Even, the worst people in history have fans somewhere. It's totally subjective.
So if someone decides you're ugly or not good enough,
The source suggests seeing it as just screening. Okay, that person isn't for you. Good to know quickly. Move on. It's not a reflection of your actual worth.
easier said than done sometimes, but a powerful reframe.
Definitely.
So, okay, with all this pervasive insecurity, what does, the psychology field say? How do they approach it?
Well, psychology has obviously recognized insecurity for a long time as a major hurdle for mental health. And there are tons of approaches.
Like CBT?
Yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy is huge,
Yeah.
helping people spot and challenge those negative thought patterns. And mindfulness practices too, learning to just observe the insecure thoughts without getting swept away.
And those things help a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. Millions. Definitely valuable tools.
What's really interesting, though, is how your source suggests we look at insecurity in a more nuanced way, not just as one big blob.
Right. It breaks it down, suggests there are different facets. The first big one is about our relationship with ourselves. Let's call it internal insecurity.
Okay, internal. What does that look like?
That's the doubt about our own worth, our abilities, whether we're lovable, even our basic right to, take up space.
Imposter syndrome fits in here.
Perfectly. Feeling like a fraud even when you're successful, or having trouble accepting a compliment,
Yeah, brushing it off.
or minimizing your achievements, focusing way too much on flaws. And often the roots go back, early life stuff where maybe we got messages that our worth wasn't inherent, it was conditional.
Okay, so that's the internal piece. What's the other main category?
The other is relational insecurity. This is more about our relationships with others.
So worrying about what they think.
Exactly. Excessive concern about others' opinions, finding it hard to assert your own needs or say no. And that tendency to mind read.
Mind reading.
Yeah, assuming you know what someone else is thinking, and usually assuming it's negative.
Like your colleague seems distracted and you immediately think, oh no, they're annoyed with me.
Right. When really they might just be worried about something totally unrelated at home. But we personalize it. And that creates all this anxiety and sometimes makes us pull back.
Makes sense. And the source digs even deeper, distinguishing between physical and spiritual dimensions within.
It does. Physical insecurities are tied to our sort of material existence.
Yeah.
Social status, appearance, achievements, our standing in different groups.
The stuff we can see and measure.
Pretty much. The things that make us check the mirror constantly or want the fancy car or worry about job titles, how we stack up externally.
Got it. And spiritual insecurity. Those sound different.
They are deeper, yeah. They're about the bigger questions. Purpose. Connection to something beyond just us, meaning direction in life.
So questioning if you're living according to your values.
Exactly. Or wondering if your life has significance beyond just, climbing the ladder, or maybe feeling disconnected from the divine, or whatever that means.
And I imagine these two dimensions, physical and spiritual, they probably interact, right? They're not totally separate boxes.
Oh, absolutely. They mix in complex ways.
Yeah.
Someone might feel a strong spiritual calling to live differently.
Like more simply, or pursuing art instead of corporate job.
Right. But then they hit that physical insecurity. What will people think? How will I survive? Will I lose status?
Or the other way around. Someone could be super successful,
Totally confident in their worldly achievements, got the job, the house, everything.
but still feel that spiritual insecurity. Like, is this all there is? Does any of this actually mean anything deep down?
Precisely. And that interaction, that tension, it raises a really important question. Conventional psychology often focuses on the physical dimension, right? Boosting self-esteem, managing social anxiety.
Helping people feel better about their external stuff.
Yeah. But what if?
Yeah.
What if true, lasting security requires addressing that spiritual dimension first?
That's fascinating because it really does track with what a lot of people find out the hard way, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, that getting the promotion or the social approval or even feeling more confident, it helps, sure, but it doesn't always deliver that deep, unshakable sense of peace we're for.
Exactly. And that's where this Chassidic wisdom tradition comes in, offering a really different lens. It suggests that lasting security, that deep peace, actually comes from tending to the spiritual dimension first.
Okay, tell me more about that. How does that work?
So if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
a core teaching from a text called Sefer Hasikos talks about the difference between our name and our essential you.
Our name versus our essential you, okay? What's the name?
The name is basically everything we usually identify with. Our roles, parent, employee, friend, our attributes, smart, funny, anxious, our achievements, our reputation, how people see us.
So it's the collection of labels and descriptors.
Exactly. Your job title, your personality traits as you understand them, your history, your accomplishments, all that stuff.
And that name, by definition, it's relative.
I think it's right.
It depends on comparisons, on circumstances, on what other people think.
Precisely. It's conditional.
Yeah.
It changes. It can be built up and it can be torn down, which means if your sense of security is tied only to your name,
then that security is always going to be shaky, fragile,
yeah,
temporary.
exactly. But then there's the essential you.
Okay.
This is the core, the absolute bedrock of who you are that exists before and beyond all those descriptors. It's not defined by what you do or own or achieve or what anyone thinks.
It just is.
It just is. Pure being. Consciousness itself, that fundamental aliveness that's been there since day one. It's the I that's aware of all the thoughts, feelings, and experiences, but isn't defined by any single one of them. The constant thread.
Wow. Okay, and the spiritual dimension of this?
It gets even more profound. The teaching is that this essential you isn't just separate and isolated. It's deeply connected to and ultimately actually one with the essential you of the divine, of existence itself.
Not just like a part of God, but one with.
Yeah, it's a subtle but huge difference. It suggests a fundamental unity that's already there. And this isn't just abstract theory. It's something the tradition says can be experienced directly.
So how does realizing this help with insecurity?
Well, it flips the whole script. Instead of desperately trying to build up and defend our name, trying to be more impressive, more liked, more successful.
Which is exhausting and ultimately futile.
Right. We can learn to access and identify with this deeper reality, our essential you. And when you're resting in that place, insecurity just doesn't have the same grip. It becomes almost irrelevant.
Because your worth isn't on the line anymore.
Exactly. That's the first profound shift. You realize your worth isn't earned. It isn't conditional. It simply is. It's inherent, unchanging, fundamental.
That doesn't mean you just sit around doing nothing, right?
Not at all. But your actions, your efforts, they start coming from a different place. Not from fear or inadequacy, trying to prove your worth.
But maybe from joy, purpose, just expressing that essential self.
Precisely. It shifts from deficiency motivation to expression motivation. Second, you develop this. Let's call it spiritual confidence.
Spiritual confidence.
Yeah.
How's that different from regular ego-based confidence?
It's a deep knowing that you belong, that your existence itself is valuable and meaningful, just as it is. It doesn't depend on being better than others. Ego confidence is often about comparison, about standing out. Spiritual confidence is more inclusive. It recognizes the value in everyone.
Okay, inherent worth, spiritual confidence. What's the third shift?
Relationships transform massively.
How?
Think about it. If you're not constantly worried about managing your image, about getting approval,
You can actually show up as yourself.
yes, more authentically. You can listen better because you're not just waiting for your turn to impress or defend. You can actually hear the other person.
And you can probably share your real thoughts and feelings more freely.
Without that constant fear that if they see the real you, they'll reject you. Because your core sense of okayness isn't dependent on the reaction anymore.
And the paradox is that kind of authenticity and presence actually really attractive, isn't it?
It really is. Authenticity, genuine confidence, the ability to be present, those are magnetic qualities.
Yeah.
When we stop trying so desperately hard to be liked.
We often end up being liked more. It's funny how that works.
It is a wonderful ripple effect.
So how do we actually cultivate this? It sounds great, but how do we, apply it?
Good question. It involves developing what the source calls essential awareness. Basically, the ability to recognize that deeper fundamental being within ourselves and to consciously rest there, even while we're busy living our lives.
So not detaching from life, but engaging from a different place.
Exactly. Holding our roles, our name, a bit more lightly, knowing they're expressions of our essential self, not the definition of it.
Are there specific practices?
Yeah, one powerful way is something like essence meditation. It's about taking time regularly to just step back from all the mental chatter.
The stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah, the worries, the plans, the self-criticism, the achievements, all of it. And just noticing the awareness behind it, the quiet presence that's observing everything.
Kind of asking, who is aware of these thoughts?
Exactly. Who is conscious right now? What part of me remains constant even when my thoughts and feelings change? And just resting in that awareness itself.
Okay. What else?
Another really practical thing is identity reframe. In the moment, when you feel that pang of insecurity.
Like before giving a presentation or meeting new people?
Yeah. You pause and you ask yourself, okay, wait, am I identifying with my essential self right now? Or am I caught up in my name?
Am I worried about my role, my reputation, how I look?
Right. And if you notice you're caught in the name concern, you gently redirect. You remind yourself, maybe internally, okay, I am not just my job title. I am not just my performance. I am the essential awareness experience.
So it's not about ignoring the situation.
No, not at all. You still prepare for the presentation, but you approach it from a place of underlying security, not desperate neediness.
And this shift, operating from essential awareness, it doesn't just change things for us individually, right? The source mentioned broader impacts.
Oh, huge implication.
Yeah.
When we relate from that deeper place, we naturally become more compassionate, more generous. We start seeing the essential goodness in others, too, underneath their own names and defenses.
So relationships become less about competition.
Less about competition for approval or status, yeah, and more about mutual recognition, support, genuine connection.
How does that play out in conflict? That's often where insecurity flares up.
Well, if you're secure in your essential nature, you don't feel so personally threatened when someone disagrees with you.
You can separate the idea from the person.
Exactly. You can discuss different viewpoints without needing to make the other person wrong or needing to be right to feel okay about yourself. In families, this could be huge for breaking unhealthy patterns, fostering real intimacy instead of defensiveness.
But at work,
imagine workplaces less driven by ego and fear, more collaboration, more creativity, because people aren't afraid to share ideas. Leaders who empower people instead of controlling them out of their own insecurity.
it could even impact how we deal with big social issues.
So much public polarization comes from collective insecurity, right? Defending our group identity, needing our side to be right. If we approach these complex issues from essential security, we can be more curious, more caring, less defensive. It opens up possibilities for real dialogue.
But let's be real, this shift, it's not like flipping a switch, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. It's important to acknowledge that. Most of us have spent our whole lives identified with our name. Learning to access and operate from essential awareness takes time.
Patience, practice.
Patience, practice, and often support. From a therapist, a coach, a spiritual teacher, a community, it's a journey.
And there might be bumps, like feeling confused or even more anxious sometimes.
Totally normal.
Yeah.
As old patterns get disrupted, things can feel shaky for a bit. It's part of the transformation. The key is remembering it's about engaging from wholeness, not withdrawing into detachment.
It's interesting, too, how modern psychology seems to be catching up with some of these ancient ideas.
It really is. There's a lot of research confirming this stuff.
Yeah.
Studies consistently show people with higher, more stable self-esteem and less insecurity. Well, they just do better.
Better relationships, better decisions.
Less anxiety, less depression, more resilience, more positive contribution. Pretty clear.
And psychology also distinguishes between shaky self-esteem based on external stuff versus the more solid kind, right?
Yeah, exactly. They talk about contingent self-worth, where your value depends on hitting external targets like looks or achievements. That kind is fragile. It leads to more stress even when you're succeeding.
Versus true self-esteem or secure self-regard.
Right, which is based more on internal factors, your values, self-acceptance, inherent worth. That leads to much more emotional stability and real life satisfaction. It lines perfectly with the name versus essential you idea.
And positive psychology offers practices to build that secure foundation.
Absolutely. Things like mindfulness, gratitude practices, identifying your core values, and living by them. Self-compassion.
Learning to be kind to yourself, even when you mess up.
Crucial. And self-acceptance. All these things help build that internal anchor, bridging that gap between ancient wisdom and modern understanding.
The spiritual dimension adds that extra layer, though, doesn't it? That cosmic perspective.
It really does. Understanding our essential nature isn't just about feeling better personally. It's about recognizing ourselves as expressions of something vast, infinite, divine. Our security becomes grounded in the fabric of existence itself.
That sounds like it could be incredibly helpful when life throws really tough challenges your way.
It can provide a deep well of resilience, a sense that even amidst chaos or loss, something essential remains untouched.
And it changes how we think about helping others, too.
Yeah. It's not just about boosting their ego or their external confidence, their name. It's about helping them connect with their own essential worth.
How do you do that?
Sometimes it's just by seeing it in them, reflecting back their fundamental goodness beyond their struggles or achievements, sharing your own journey honestly, and just modeling, especially for parents, teachers. Kids really absorb the energy, the consciousness of the adults around them. Showing up from a place of essential security is a powerful gift.
So the core message, cutting through all of it, is revolutionary, really.
It is that deep down, you are already enough, exactly as you are in your essential being.
Which doesn't mean we stop growing or learning or trying.
Not at all. But we do it from a place of fullness, not emptiness. From love, not fear. From the joy of expressing who we are, not the desperate need to prove we're worthy.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe the invitation for you, listening, is to reflect on your own journey with this stuff. Insecurity, transformation.
Yeah. What are the stories you tell yourself? When have you felt the difference between that shaky external security and something deeper, more rooted?
What helps you connect with that essential worth? What practices? What insight?
And remember, your experiences here are valuable, not just for you, but potentially for others too. Maybe consider sharing your story, your struggles, your discoveries with someone you trust.
A friend, family, maybe a community group. That vulnerability, being authentic about the journey, it can really offer hope to others who feel alone in it.
Absolutely.
So let's end with this final thought to chew on. If our worth is truly inherent, if it's fundamentally baked into our essential being, connected to everything, then what does that really mean for our relentless chase after external approval?
Right. The need for validation for our looks, our jobs, our status.
If our core is already whole and worthy, maybe that whole game becomes, well, unnecessary. What would it actually look like, feel like, to live from that deep knowing, where the subjective noise of other people's opinions, even the negative ones, the ones calling us ugly or not enough, just fades against the quiet, solid truth of our essential self?
That's definitely a question worth exploring.